So, in fact, I should share that I was the one who took initiative for this meeting, that I was very keen that something should happen on this issue. One, I was very disturbed when that incident took place 2 days. It was very, very disturbing for me. I don't know, personally, I was very restless. After that, when I saw the indifference towards that incident, because आप जानते हो मैं बहुत ट्रैवल करता हूँ, कहीं जा रहा हूँ, इस मुद्दे पे देश में कोई चर्चा नहीं है. बट संवैधानिक पोजीशन का तीसरा पोजीशन इज ऑन वन ऑफ द हाईएस्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल पोजीशन. एंड लुक एट द plight of this nation, I must say, that there is no debate on this shameful incident. I call it one of the most shameful incident in post-independent India. Incident itself is disturbing, one thing. The fact that there is so much of indifference in this society has cultivated in the last 10 years. And I must tell you, historically and as a political theorist, indifference is a clear sign of genocidal politics. किसी देश में जेनोसाइड होने वाला है, उसका पहला चिन्ह, पहला जो सिम्टम है वो है मास इंडिफरेंस. जर्मनी में भी यही हुआ था और हमारा देश भी इसी संकट से गुजर रहा है. इतना मास इंडिफरेंस कि कहीं पे भी इस इशू का चर्चा नहीं है. भले पीपल कैन एक्सेप्ट इट. People, even I would have said that people should have come out and said something that अच्छा हुआ जो हुआ. Even that there is indifference. Yesterday we were there, I and my father, in Punjab for Save Education Committee, and they were all social activists. Even among social activists, when I broached this topic, भाई ये क्या हुआ, आप लोग कोई बात नहीं कर रहे हो, इतना बड़ा इंसिडेंट हो गया इस देश में. They were there was general indifference in this country. So I think first, this disturbance of being, why have we become such an indifferent society? But person holding such a high constitutional position is being treated this way. How do we approach and how do we analyze? This is a question. I myself don't have an answer for this. This is a question I am putting before you. Second, the strategy of BJP RSS. One should understand this incident. It is not a untoward incident. It is not an happenstance incident. I am very clear this is a very premeditated incident. But what is the strategy behind this? Why such an incident has taken place? If you look at the strategy of the right-wing forces in the last 4-5 years, you will clearly understand that there is a clear symptom of targeting Muslims and Dalits. Targeting and violence against Muslims and Dalits has stopped becoming a news in this country. But what it is doing politically is that it is consolidating a vote bank for the right wing, both for RSS and BJP. पंजाब से फार्मर्स को आप टारगेट करते हो सिख खालिस्तानी है. नॉर्थ में कश्मीर को टारगेट करते हो, मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटेरियन है. ईस्ट में आप लद्दाख को टारगेट करते हो, बुद्धिस्ट ट्राइबल्स एसटीस है. नॉर्थ ईस्ट में आप मणिपुर को टारगेट करते हो, एसटी क्रिश्चियन है. तो सिम्टम इज वेरी क्लियर अक्रॉस बोर्ड. From north, south to west to east, it is religious minorities and caste minorities, STs and SCs being targeted to create a siege mentality in the Hindi heartland. ये हिंदू आइडेंटिटी को जगह रखने के लिए the only method you have is you have to target so that OBCs, a section of OBCs and upper caste get consolidated with BJP. That's the first purpose that we can clearly see, and I see this targeting of CJI as part of that strategy. Why do you need this strategy? Why do you want to only consolidate OBC and upper caste? This is where I see the long-term strategy of BJP and RSS, that today they know that they cannot cross more than 30. They are now strategizing how to remain in power with 20% vote share. That is the new strategy. Both delimitation, long-term shift that is going to come, one nation, one election and delimitation. There is a plan to have where BJP can stay in power forever with 20% vote share. That is the whole gerrymandering that is going to happen with delimitation, new constituencies, seats being raised to 745. All this is a strategy where they want absolutely committed 20% vote share, and that will happen through one section of OBCs and upper caste. That is what they are targeting. So the long term strategy को देखते हुए this kind of a strategy where with 20% you want to hold on to power, this consolidation is necessary. Target the lower end caste minorities and religious minorities, enrage a caste ego among OBCs and upper caste, and consolidate your vote bank. This is the long-term strategy. The question is, it will depend on the nature of our opposition whether this is going to succeed. If this succeeds, then obviously all social activism, all kinds of social movements, farmers movements, education movements, everything becomes simply irrelevant. Because you keep doing your movements, it doesn't matter. Because you know you are all going to, you are not going to breach, as long as you are not going to breach that 20%, there will be absolutely nothing that you can do with their power dynamics. This is the long-term strategy. Therefore, they have experimented in last 10 years. We have had such a huge farmers movement, it made no difference. We have had such a huge anti-CAA movement, it made no difference. You have had students movement, it made no difference. You keep having your movements. Therefore, it is also a challenge for social activists and social movements to think, what are we going to do with this 20% consolidation behind the right-wing forces? How are we going to change that? Is there any space that unless we don't breach that 20%, especially in the Hindi heartland, there is no hope that they don't need to be democratic. Today you can very clearly see that the way this guy who threw the slipper is giving interviews, he is talking about Sanatan Dharma. So this is going to be absolutely brazen. What we are going to witness in the next coming decades is going to be absolutely brazen. And it may also add that this will not stop with religious minorities and Dalits. It is going to engulf everyone who stands up, everyone who will speak a democratic voice. In one way or the other, they will be implicated into this kind of a draconian and an anti-democratic process. So this meeting is especially to highlight that there is a long-term strategy behind this. We should keep that strategy in mind. This is not just about a Dalit issue. This is not just about a caste issue. Obviously that exists, but one has to see this in this larger picture and talk about this issue along with the attacks on religious minorities, SCs, STs, social activists, on universities, on higher education, so on and so forth. Unless all these groups don't come together, their strategy is that even if all these groups come together, they are building a model of governance where it will not matter to them. How are we going to then breach? Because upper caste in this country have refused to change. That's a foregone conclusion. That they don't want to change, they don't want to accommodate anyone, they don't want to treat anyone equally, they don't want to treat anyone with civility. That they have made up their mind. Now what are you going to do with that? They are 15% of this country. How are you going to breach that mark? I think we are up for a very big challenge, and this meeting, I must say, is just a starting point. And we have senior speakers here. I have come to listen to them, so I'll stop here and thank you for your patience. Thanks.